Hey guys, thanks for joining me up to Learn to Play Games. My name is Lance, and today we're taking a look at a brand new game coming to Kickstarter called Shovel Knight Dungeon Duels. This is a new game by Panda Cult Games. It is a 2 to 4 player game that takes roughly 45 minutes to an hour to play, and it is a competitive game, so each player is going to be working against the other players to collect the most coins to be the overall winner at the end of the game. In the game itself, each player is going to take on the role of the iconic Shovel Knight as they work their way through a side-scrolling adventure to start the game off. The players are going to be moving around the board, trying to jump over pits, fight off enemies, and potentially, if other players have too many coins, bump them into pits and try to steal some of those from them. As the game goes on, the board will continue to move each round, with parts of it falling off and new parts coming on, and new enemies coming out and all kinds of different things, as well as potentially running into Chester, where you can buy new equipment for your Shovel Knights to make them even more powerful. And then as the game goes on, you'll also be able to get relic cards from treasure mounds as well as other things that will give you one-time bonuses that you can use, or you can use them as generics to get 2 successes on anything you roll. Once all the players make it to the end of the side-scrolling board, then they're ready to move on to the boss battle, and whichever boss that they've chosen to fight from the Order of No Quarter or the Enchantress herself. So lots of options on different bosses, and each boss is going to add a unique twist with their own dungeon, their own deck of cards, and their own boss tiles that will change how the heroes approach that dungeon as well. So lots of variety within this as well. So my opinions on this one, I had a lot of fun with this one. I had a couple of friends turn me on to the Shovel Knight video game series and had a blast with it. So I was really interested to see how this game was going to work and how it was going to play. And the creator did a wonderful job capturing this. The artist did a great job with the artwork, really incorporating a lot of the 8-dimensional or the 8-bit graphics into the game, into the boards. So everything really does feel like Shovel Knight, and that you're in there, you're actually playing the game as it goes through, and the boards are sliding around and the enemies are moving in, and you've got that roll to jump over that pit, and are you going to make the jump in time and all this kind of stuff. So you really get caught up in the game. Everything plays really fast and fun, and there's not a lot of downtime in between player turns. So I definitely recommend checking this one out, especially if you're a big fan of Shovel Knight. This is definitely a game that really fits in well with the video game and definitely captures that feel. And then, like I said, each boss that you go up against is going to be different and unique. Each of their tiles that is going to be part of the side-scrolling adventure are different and unique as well. So it's going to add new challenges to the Shovel Knight players. And all those different things are going to change how the game plays as well. And especially at the end where you're fighting the boss, each boss is going to have their own deck of cards and their own special rule that will give them their own little flair and uniqueness within the game as well. So of course, these are just my opinions. I'd love to hear from you as well. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of this. If this is one that you're looking at backing or have backed, let me know in those comments below. Love to hear from you guys. And as always, anything that I use in this video is also going to be a prototype material, so is subject to change and could change in the final production. But of course, as they've already done one Kickstarter that was successful with Wonder, the Cult of Barnacle Bay, that first game was beautiful, so the production on this one is going to be really well done as well. So I can't wait to see the final production on this one. The models that I got to work with were really good right off the bat here, so I can't wait to see what it looks like once it's produced. And so if you enjoyed these videos, if you like what I do, please consider that like button, subscribe to my channel, as it really does make a big difference and helps me continue to grow and be able to bring these videos to you guys. If you want to stay up to date on all my videos, also consider ringing that bell so you get notifications anytime I release new content. You're also going to notice up in the top corner here that I will have another video up. If you want to see Shovel Knight in action, I'm going to have a full gameplay video up that's going to cover the first, middle, and end couple turns, so you can see how the game plays without having to watch a super long video as well. So let's go ahead and head to the table, and I'll show you what this one's all about. Let's go ahead and start off by taking a look at the Shovel Knights themselves. So each player is going to play a Shovel Knight and will receive a Shovel Knight card, which is going to list the number of hit points they have, and then the number of dice they're going to throw for their different actions, which are attacks, defense, and jumps. Then we also have a special ability, which a Shovel Knight must spend a gold in order to activate that, and then they'll resolve the effects of that ability. At the bottom of the card is also going to be slots for accessories and armor, and throughout the game, the players can visit the Chester and buy equipment cards, which are going to range from all kinds of different items, such as the charge handle, and armor items such as the Mail of Momentum. Players are also going to gain relic cards throughout the game, and these are going to range from all kinds of different iconic items from the game as well, which such as the propeller dagger, the Dust Knuckles, and the Fishing Rod. Moving over to the enemies, there are 4 different ones included in the game, which we have the Propeller Rat, Bone Clank, Wisdom, and Gold Armor. Each of these enemies will have the 4 different stats as well, which are health, the amount of damage they do, their armor, and the amount of gold that you get when defeating them. And then if there's any special rules or outlines for those, such as attacks and whatnot for those enemies. And then finally we have the bosses, and the players will choose which boss to go up against. Each boss is going to have their own special card, which is going to list the number of hit points they have, their attack value and defense, and then each boss is also going to have a special ability that will be resolved at the end of the round. Other than that, each boss is also going to have their own deck of cards, which at the end of each player's activation, a boss will reveal one of the cards, and then will move to the location on the card that is shown, as well as attack all of the red spaces on the card. Any white space is considered a safe space. Each boss is also going to have their own set of tiles, which is going to be customized to them. It will have special rules, such as the King Knight here. His tiles are going to have a lot of wall sections where the players will not be able to pass over those walls unless they have special cards to do so. Each boss is also going to have their own end tile, which will conclude in the boss fight. Shovel Knight Dungeon Duels is a game that is basically broken into 2 parts. The first part will see the Shovel Knight players working their way through this side-scrolling adventure, fighting off enemies and potentially their opponents to try to gain the most coins as they work their way towards the boss and hopefully find some equipment along the way as well. The second part of the game is where the players are going to be facing off against whichever boss they've chosen. And the players are going to try to reduce the boss's health and gain coins along that path as well. When the boss is defeated, the player that has the most coins will be the overall winner of the game. So let's go ahead and cover the round now. So each round is going to be broken into 3 phases, which will start with the hero phase, then go into the enemy phase, and finish off with the end of round phase. So during the hero phase, each of the Shovel Knights is going to activate, starting with the player that has the first player marker and proceeding around the board. During each Shovel Knight's turn, they get to perform 3 actions of their choice, and these actions can be repeated. So the first one we're going to look at is a move action, which will allow our Shovel Knight to move in an orthogonal direction. No diagonal movement is allowed. So he could shift over to this space here for 1 point, and then he could move up into this space with the enemies for his 2nd point. Then a player can also attack enemies, so if he's in the same space as enemies, or if he has an item or equipment piece or relic that allows him to attack enemies at a range, he can do that as well following the directions that are on those cards. When a player attacks the enemies, he will choose either to use his special attack or his basic attack. So let's go ahead and say, for example, he's going to use his basic attack. He would roll 3 dice, and he's going to be looking for the shovel symbols, and each shovel symbol he gets is going to count as a success. Then he would compare that to whatever model he's going after's armor, reducing that result by that number of armor points, and then any remaining points are going to go straight to that armor's hit points, and then if he does enough, he will eliminate that model and receive a number of coins. For example, with the knight here, he has 1 armor point and 4 hit points. So if the knight is able to deliver enough damage to him, let's go ahead and say that he ended up rolling this, then he would eliminate the armor and do 4 points of damage, which would eliminate the knight and receive 4 gold pieces for that. And then that model would be removed from the board. The last type of action our knight can do is a jump action, which will allow him to either jump over a pit in a straight line, or he can do a side jump, which would allow him to do an L shape. Either way, he's going to have to roll his dice, and he will receive 2 dice for this, and he's going to be looking for the arrow symbols. If he gets enough arrow symbols to make it to the spot that he designated that he wants to land in, then he will successfully make it. If he rolls fewer arrows, then he will fall into the pit that he's trying to jump over and lose half of his gold on the pit, and then his model will be removed. Now, the other cool thing about this is that the players are never eliminated from the game. The next round, when it is the Blue Knight's turn, he will come back on the board and start in one of the starting spaces. Now, of course, this tile won't be here next round, it'll be that one, as you guys are going to see in a minute. Then, once all knights are completed with their turns, then we move into the enemy turn, where all enemies are going to activate. Starting with the enemies, where each enemy is going to work towards the knights that is closest to them, or towards the knight that has the most gold. Once all of the enemies have moved, the enemies will attack, and all enemies attack together. So if you get caught in a situation where you have a lot of enemies coming at you, you can deal a lot of damage and potentially drop your knight right in one hit. Once all of the enemies have attacked, then the board is going to slide, starting with the start space. Everything in there is going to be removed and will die. So if any knights are left in there, then they will also be removed, and they will lose half of their coins back to the bank. Then the board is going to shift over, and a new tile will come out. This new tile will have mound tokens placed on it, and this is going to be done in checker pattern, so we would have 2 here, and then we have 2 spawn points, so we would flip over a spawn card for each of those locations and place new enemy types there. So this one would receive 2 propeller rats, and then our bottom one would receive 2 bone clanks. From there, then the first player token will be passed to the next player to start the next round, and this will continue until they make it through this entire stack of tiles. And then, like I said, there are boss tiles as well, and these are going to be unique. As you guys can see, this is going to be the first knight's tiles, and these are going to focus, these tiles are going to have wall sections where the players will not be able to move through. Then we also have the Plague Knight's tiles in this particular demo copy that I have here. So there will be a number of bosses that are included in the game as well, including Spectre Knight and the Enchantress, which will also have their own tiles. But these particular tiles for the Plague Knight, these tiles will also have the potion vats, which when they explode, they will do damage to anything on their space and potentially adjacent spaces. From here, the players are going to continue working their way through, like I said, through this stack, and when the stack is completely exhausted, the players will be able to move off the board, and when all players have done this, then we'll move on to the boss battle. Then, like I said, the final part of the game is going to be facing off against the boss that the players have chosen at the beginning of the game. So with this one, we have the King Knight model here. He has his boss card, which will have the number of hit points, his attack and defense, and then his special attack, which will be resolved at the end of the round. He also has his boss deck of cards, which I'm going to show you how that works. So again, we would start with the player that has the first player token. They would go ahead and take their turn. So let's go ahead and say that it's the Blue Knight again. So he would go ahead and move 2 spaces. He only has 1 action left, so there's no point in moving here. So he's going to see what the King Knight does. So we would flip over a card and reveal it, and it's going to be lined up according to the board. Then the King Knight is going to move to the location on that tile, and he's going to hit all models in that space, in the red sections, and he's going to do 2 points to each one of those. So we'll go ahead and start with green. He would roll his defense. He's looking for 2, so he would take 2 damage and drop 2 coins. The yellow player would be able to defend all of that, and the red player would defend as well. So only the green player would take damage and would lose coins. So we would place 2 of his coins in that space. Then it would move to our next Shovel Knight. So let's go ahead and say that it's the green player. He's going to spend his first action to move in there. His second action, he's going to go ahead and attack. So we'll go ahead and roll a basic attack action. He rolls 2 shovels. The King Knight has 1 armor, so it's going to negate 1 of those, but 1 gets through, so our player is going to do 1 point of damage and will receive 2 coins for doing that damage as well. So these will be going to the green player. And then he has 1 action left, so let's go ahead and say that he does his special action next, so I can show you how that works. He's going to spend 1 coin, because that's what you have to do when you do a special action, which is striking the earth. And so he's going to roll 3 dice, and he rolls 3 successes. So again, 1 will get taken away with the armor, and then he gets 2 through, so he's going to do 2 damage, and he'll get 4 coins for that. So then we'll go ahead and give him 4 coins. And then from there, he can choose. He can either move a space, or he can continue his attack. He's going to lose 1 die for doing so, so he'd be down to 2 dice. So let's go ahead and push our luck and see if we can get through the King Knight's armor. Wow, so we did. So we lose 1 there, but he does 2 more damage to the King Knight, which drops him down to 10 hit points. Again, he would gain 4 gold points for doing that. So we'll add those to his stack as well. And then he would either, again, continue doing his cascade attack with 1 die this time, or he could choose to move. So we're going to go ahead and move him out of there and see what happens. So his turn is over, and then the King Knight would go again. So he's going to move up to here with the blue player, and then he's going to attack all of the red spaces. So green and blue are going to be hit, but red and yellow are not going to be hit. So again, green would roll, and he takes 2 more damage. So he's going to drop 2 coins, and blue, it blocked both of those, so blue is okay. So again, this would continue going on until all the Shovel Knight players have gone, and at the end of the round, the King Knight, instead of drawing a card, would reveal and resolve his special action. Now, the other important thing is the deck of cards that the King Knight has. When this whole deck is gone through, the players will flip this back over, not shuffling it, to go again, and this will continue happening up to 3 times until the boss is exhausted. Now, this is going to help the players, as if you were able to remember this, you'll know the sequence that the boss is going to attack in, and that'll help you plan out your turn better as well. Well, I hope you guys found that video helpful in deciding whether or not you want to back the Shovel Knight game. Like I said, I would recommend it. I found that this one really did a great job of capturing the feel and essence of the Shovel Knight video game series, and it plays very fast and fun, especially if you like competitive games. This one does a really good job of that. There's nothing like the feeling of shoving one of your opponents into a pit and watching them spit out coins. It's quite amusing. So, of course, if you have any questions or comments, leave those in the comment section below and I'll do my best to answer them. Or swing by the Kickstarter's main page and drop your questions there. I'm sure the creators would love to hear from you guys as well. Let me know, or let them know any feedback you have or concerns or questions as well. And also, anything that was in the video game series has a potential to show up in this, depending upon how well the stretch goals go. So there's a lot of surprises that are coming our way as well. So hopefully this one does really good and we unlock everything for it to see all that Shovel Knight goodness. So until next time, I'll see you guys later.